control it.
Although the force was hidden, one day and snow.
It's completely frozen.
Please, just stay.
Nicest person ever. Huh? Am I right?
Ice to throat, snow people!
Whoa, Feisty Pants. You're Blizzard!
That's no blizzard! That's my sister!
Do you want to build a snowman or discover the secrets behind one of Disney's most magical hits? Today on J Cinema Film, we're diving into Frozen, reviewing the story, the music, and uncovering some surprising facts you probably never knew about Elsa, Anna, and Elsa. Stick around, because this icy tale has more hidden details than Olaf has jokes. Frozen is an American animated musical fantasy film produced by Walt Disney Animation Studios and released by Walt Disney Pictures. Inspired by Hans Christian Andersen's fairy tale The Snow Queen, it was directed by Chris Buck and Jennifer Lee and produced by Peter Del Vecchio, from a screenplay by Lee, who also developed the story with Buck and Shane Morris. The film features the voices of Kristen Bell, Idina Menzel, Jonathan Groff, Josh Gad, and Santino Fontana. The story follows Anna, the princess of Arendelle, who sets off on a journey with Kristoff, his reindeer Sven, and the snowman Olaf to find her sister Elsa, after Elsa accidentally traps their kingdom in eternal winter with her magical powers. The film went through multiple story treatments before finally being greenlit. Christoph Beck composed the orchestral score, while Robert Lopez and Kristen Anderson Lopez wrote the songs. After premiering at the El Capitan Theater in Los Angeles in November 2013, Frozen was released worldwide to critical acclaim. It was praised for its visuals, screenplay, themes, music, and voice acting, with many calling it Disney's best animated film since the Renaissance era. The movie became a global phenomenon, grossing over $1.2 billion and holding the record as the highest-grossing animated film until The Lion King remake surpassed it. The popularity of Frozen led to a successful franchise, including the short Frozen Fever, the featurette Olaf's Frozen Adventure, the sequel Frozen 2, and the announced Frozen 3. The film earned numerous awards, including Academy Awards for Best Animated Feature and Best Original Song with Let It Go, as well as a Golden Globe, a BAFTA, and Grammy Awards. Cast and crew. Kristen Bell's casting as Anna, the film's plucky and optimistic younger princess, marked a pivotal moment in the production of Frozen. Announced on March 5, 2012, Bell's involvement came at a time when the project was still evolving from its earlier iterations as a hand-drawn adaptation of Hans Christian Andersen's The Snow Queen. Bell, known for her roles in television series like Veronica Mars and films such as Forgetting Sarah Marshall, brought a relatable, quirky energy to the character that aligned perfectly with the filmmaker's vision of Anna as a flawed, endearing heroine. Her selection was not arbitrary, it stemmed from a deliberate search for voices that could infuse the animated characters with authenticity and emotional depth. The casting process for Anna began with auditions that emphasized vocal range and personality fit. Bell had long harbored a dream of starring in a Disney animated film, dating back to her childhood when she idolized characters from classics like The Little Mermaid. In interviews, she recalled performing songs from Ariel's repertoire in her youth, which ironically played a role in her casting. The filmmakers, including directors Chris Buck and Jennifer Lee, listened to archival vocal tracks Bell had recorded as a young actress, including renditions of Part of Your World. These demos showcased her ability to convey innocence, enthusiasm, and vulnerability, qualities essential for Anna, who embarks on a journey of self-discovery amid her sister's icy isolation. Bell's recording sessions for Frozen were unique due to her personal circumstances. She completed much of her work while pregnant with her first child, which affected her vocal timbre. As her pregnancy progressed, her voice deepened slightly, necessitating re-recordings of certain lines to maintain consistency. This adjustment highlighted the flexibility required in voice acting for animation, where sessions often span months to align with evolving scripts. Bell noted in press tours that she re-recorded dialogue probably 20 times, a common practice for lead roles in Disney features where the narrative is refined iteratively. Her approach to Anna emphasized relatability. She aimed to make the princess weirder and scrappier, diverging from the polished poise of earlier Disney heroines. This infused Anna with a modern, awkward charm that resonated with audiences, contributing to the film's appeal as a fresh take on fairy tales. The chemistry between Bell and her co-stars was tested early through table reads, where the cast gathered to read the script aloud. These sessions were crucial for gauging vocal dynamics and ensuring the sibling bond between Anna and Elsa felt genuine. Bell's enthusiasm extended beyond the studio. She promoted the film vigorously, sharing anecdotes about how Frozen's themes of sisterhood mirrored her own life experiences. Her casting not only anchored the film's emotional core but also set a precedent for selecting actors who could bring personal investment to their roles, enhancing the authenticity of the animated performances. Idina Menzel's casting as Elsa. From Broadway to the Ice Queen. Idina Menzel's selection as Elsa, the tormented queen with cryokinetic powers, was a coup for Frozen's production team. A Broadway veteran renowned for her Tony Award-winning performance as Elphaba in Wicked, Menzel was cast following a serendipitous connection from her earlier audition for Disney's Tangled. Although she didn't secure a role in that film, casting director Jamie Sparrow Roberts preserved a recording of her performance on her iPhone. This foresight proved invaluable when scouting for Elsa, a character requiring a powerful vocal presence to convey isolation, fear, and eventual empowerment. Menzel's casting was formalized after an impressive table read alongside Kristen Bell. With no original music composed yet, the duo improvised by singing Wind Beneath My Wings as a duet, a moment that reportedly left the production team, including producer Peter Del Vecchio and songwriters Robert Lopez and Kristen Anderson Lopez, in awe. Lopez recalled John Lasseter, then chief creative officer at Disney Animation, being in heaven hearing their harmonious voices, solidifying the decision to pair them as sisters. Menzel's ability to blend acting prowess with soaring vocals was key. Elsa's arc demanded a performer who could transition from restrained vulnerability to triumphant release, epitomized in the anthem Let It Go. The casting process for Elsa emphasized finding a voice that embodied strength and complexity. Menzel's Broadway background, including roles in Renter and Wicked, equipped her to handle the musical demands of Frozen. She described the film as a bit of a feminist movie for Disney, highlighting the intricate sisterly dynamic where competition and protection coexist. Recording sessions allowed Menzel to explore Elsa's emotional layers, drawing from personal experiences of feeling different or pressured to conform. Her performance influenced the animation supervising animator Wayne Unton studied videos of Menzel's sessions to replicate her breathing and expressions in Elsa's design, ensuring the character's fear and resolve were visually palpable. Menzel's involvement extended to promoting Frozen's themes of self-acceptance, which she linked to her own career challenges. In interviews, she expressed pride in portraying a character who rejects traditional romantic tropes, instead focusing on internal growth. This casting choice not only elevated the film's musical elements but also contributed to its cultural impact, with Elsa becoming a symbol of empowerment for diverse audiences. Jonathan Groff's role as Kristoff, bringing heart to the Iceman. Jonathan Groff, acclaimed for his Broadway's debut in Spring Awakening and television role in Glee, was cast as Kristoff, the rugged Iceman and Anna's reluctant companion, in December 2012. His selection came amid the film's shift toward emphasizing familial bonds over romance, requiring a voice that could convey gruff exterior masking a warm heart. Groff's casting was announced alongside other key roles, reflecting Disney's strategy to blend stage talent with animated storytelling. The audition process for Kristoff focused on actors who could handle both dialogue and song, as the character features in numbers like Reindeers Are Better Than People. Groff's vocal range and comedic timing stood out. His prior experience in musical theater allowed him to infuse Kristoff with humor and sincerity. Directors Buck and Lee sought someone who could portray Kristoff's initial cynicism evolving into genuine affection, avoiding cliché-tilde copyrightus of the Prince Charming archetype. Groff drew inspiration from his own background, channeling a sense of independence and loyalty that mirrored Kristoff's bond with his reindeer, Sven. Recording sessions for Groff involved collaboration with the animation team to ensure Kristoff's physicality matched his voice. He provided grunts and sounds for Sven in early drafts, though these were later handled by Frank Welker. Groff's enthusiasm for the project was evident in press appearances, where he praised Frozen's subversion of fairy tale norms. His casting added depth to the ensemble, balancing the female-led narrative with a grounded male perspective. Josh Gad as Olaf, the comic relief snowman. Josh Gad's casting as Olaf, the lovable, naive snowman created by Elsa's magic, was revealed in June 2013, rounding out the principal voice cast. Known for his Tony-nominated role in the Book of Mormon and films like The Wedding Ringer, Gad brought infectious energy to Olaf, transforming what could have been a mere sidekick into a breakout character. His involvement traced back to early development stages when the plot was closer to Anderson's tale, with Gad initially attached to a different iteration. The selection process for Olaf prioritized comedic talent, as the character provides much of the film's humor through his innocent observations and detachable body parts. Gad's improvisational skill shone in auditions, where he ad-libbed lines that influenced the script. Directors noted his ability to make Olaf unimpeachable, leading to calls for a spin-off. Recording sessions allowed Gad to experiment, with his warm delivery contrasting Olaf's wintry form, emphasizing themes of love and summer dreams. Gad's personal connection to the role deepened his performance. He related Olaf's optimism to his own life, infusing the character with heartfelt moments amid the laughs. This casting choice amplified Frozen's appeal, making Olaf a fan favorite and contributing to merchandise success. Santino Fontana's Hans, the charming antagonist Santino Fontana, a Broadway star from Cinderella and television appearances in Shades of Blue, was cast as Prince Hans, the seemingly charming suitor revealed as the villain. In June 2013, his selection was crucial for the plot twist, requiring a voice that could convincingly portray affability before the betrayal. Fontana's musical theater background, including a Tony nomination, equipped him for Hans's duet Love is an Open Door. Casting for Hans involved finding an actor who could layer charm with subtlety, avoiding overt villainy. Fontana worked closely with the team to make Hans sociopathic yet believable, drawing from classic Disney princes while subverting expectations. Recording in New York accommodated his schedule, with ADR sessions ensuring seamless integration. Fontana's performance added nuance, making the twist impactful and highlighting Frozen's narrative innovation. Supporting cast: Alan Tudyk, Tilda Ann Hines, and more. Alan Tudyk's casting as the Duke of Weselton brought veteran voice talent to the scheming nobleman. Known for Firefly and Disney roles in Wreck-It Ralph, Tudyk was selected for his comedic versatility, portraying the Duke's greed and paranoia. His ad-libs enriched the character, adding layers to the court's intrigue. Tilda Ann Hines, acclaimed for Game of Thrones and films like Munich, voiced Grandpappy, the wise troll leader. His deep, authoritative tone suited the mystical elder, with casting emphasizing gravitas for the troll's pivotal role in healing Anna. Chris Williams, a Disney animator and director of Big Hero 6, voiced Token, the jovial traitor. His insider perspective allowed for authentic delivery, blending humor with warmth. Stephen J. Anderson, director of Winnie the Pooh, voiced Kai, the loyal servant, adding familiarity to the household staff. Maya Wilson, from the Lion King Broadway cast, voiced Balda, the nurturing troll mother, her soulful voice enhancing the troll's musical sequence. Edie McClurg, known for Ferris Bueller's Day Off, voiced Gerda, the castle maid, providing folksy charm. Robert Pine, father of Chris Pine, voiced the bishop, his seasoned delivery solemnizing Elsa's coronation. Maurice LaMarche, a voice-acting legend from Futurama, voiced the King of Arendelle, conveying paternal concern. Younger voices included Livy Stubenbach and Katie Lopez, daughter of songwriter Robert Lopez, as young Anna, speaking and singing, Agatha Lemon as 9-year-old Anna, singing, Eva Bella as young Elsa, and Spencer Elganis as teen Elsa. These choices ensured vocal continuity and innocence. Frank Welker provided uncredited grunts for Sven, drawing from his extensive animal sound work. The ensemble's recording dynamics and challenges. The casting process for Frozen involved staggered announcements, reflecting the film's evolving script. Principal recordings began in October 2012 at Sunset Sound in Hollywood, under sound engineer David Boucher. Lead actors recorded vocals separately but with piano demos, allowing for emotional isolation that mirrored the characters' arcs. Table reads fostered chemistry, particularly between Bell and Menzel, whose duet improvisation influenced song development. Supporting cast recordings occurred at various studios, including ADR facilities in Burbank and New York, accommodating schedules. Challenges included script revisions, requiring multiple sessions. The emphasis on musical integration meant actors like Groff and Fontana balanced dialogue with song, collaborating with composers. Diversity in casting, from Broadway stars to Disney insiders, enriched the film, contributing to its Oscar-winning success. Production development and pre-production early development attempts. The journey to create Frozen began decades before its 2013 release, with Walt Disney Productions first exploring a possible live-action animated biographical film of Hans Christian Andersen in late 1937, before the December premiere of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. In March 1940, Walt Disney suggested a co-production with producer Samuel Goldwyn, in which Goldwyn's studio would shoot the live-action scenes of Andersen's life and Disney's studio would animate Andersen's fairy tales. However, after the United States entered World War II, Disney focused on wartime propaganda, which halted development of the Disney Goldwyn project in 1942. Walt Disney Feature Animation revived the concept during the late 1990s, following the success of its Disney Renaissance era films, but the project was scrapped in late 2002 when Glenn Keane reportedly quit and worked on another project which became Tangled. Before then, Harvey Fierstein pitched his version of the story to Disney executives but was turned down. Paul and Gaëtan Brizzi, Dick Zondak, and Dave Getz reportedly tried to handset it but failed. After several unsuccessful attempts from 2000 to 2002, Disney shelved the project again. During one of those attempts, Walt Disney Company CEO Michael Eisner supported the project and suggested director John Lasseter at Pixar after the expected renewal of Pixar's contract with Disney. However, negotiations between Pixar and Disney collapsed in January 2004. and the contract was not renewed. Eisner's successor Bob Iger negotiated Disney's purchase of Pixar in January 2006 for $7.4 billion, and Lasseter was promoted to Chief Creative Officer of Pixar and Disney Animation. Modern development phase development began in 2008 when Lasseter convinced Chris Buck, who co-directed the 1999 film Tarzan for the studio, to return to Walt Disney Animation Studios from Sony Pictures Animation, where he had co-directed the 2007 film Surf's Up. Buck pitched several ideas to Lasseter that September, one of which was the Snow Queen. Buck later said that his initial inspiration for the Snow Queen was not the Andersen fairy tale, but he wanted to do something different on the definition of true love. Disney had already done the Kissed by a Prince thing, so I thought it was time for something new. Lasseter had been interested in the Snow Queen for a long time when Pixar was working with Disney on Toy Story in the 1990s. He saw and was blown away by some of the pre-production art from Disney's previous attempts. Development began as Anna and the Snow Queen, and traditional animation was planned. Josh Gad said that he first became involved with the film at that early stage, when the plot was still relatively close to the original Andersen fairy tale and Megan Mullally was going to play Elsa. By early 2010, the project was in development hell when the studio again failed to find a way to make the story and the Snow Queen character work. Transitioned to computer animation on December 22, 2011, following the success of Tangled. Disney announced a new title for the film Frozen and a release date of November 27, 2013. It was confirmed a month later that the film would be a computer-animated feature in stereoscopic 3D instead of the originally intended hand-drawn animation. Due to complex elements in the script requiring strong visuals, Kristen Anderson-Lopez and Robert Lopez joined the project and began writing songs for Frozen in January 2012. It was announced on March 5 of that year that Buck would direct the film, with Lasseter and Peter Del Vecchio producing. Story development challenges. One of the main challenges Buck and Del Vecchio faced after Disney placed the Snow Queen into development again was the title character, who was a villain in their drafts. The studio traditionally screens animated films in development every 12 weeks, followed by holding lengthy notes sessions in which directors and screenwriters from different projects provide extensive notes about each other's work. Buck and Del Vecchio presented their storyboards to Lasseter, and the production team adjourned to a conference room to hear his thoughts about the project. Art director Michael Jamo later called Lasseter the film's game changer. I remember John saying that the latest version of the Snow Queen story that Chris Buck and his team had come up with was fun, very light-hearted, but the characters didn't resonate. They aren't multifaceted, which is why John felt that audiences wouldn't really be able to connect with them. Major breakthroughs. The production team then addressed the film's problems, drafting several versions of the Snow Queen until the characters and story felt relevant. The first major breakthrough at that stage was the decision to rewrite the film's protagonist, Anna, who was based on Gerda in the Snow Queen, as Elsa's younger sibling for a family dynamic between the characters. This was unusual. Relationships between sisters is rarely a major plot element of American animated films, with the exception of Disney's Lilo Stitch. To explore the dynamics of such relationships, Disney Animation convened a sister summit at which women from the studio who grew up with sisters were asked to discuss those relationships. Jennifer Lee's involvement. Jennifer Lee, one of the writers of Wreck-It Ralph, was brought in as screenwriter in March 2012. Efforts by the previous screen and songwriters had imploded before Lee was hired, which allowed the songwriters to put a lot of their DNA into the new script. The production team essentially started over and had 17 months, which resulted in a very intense schedule. A lot of choices had to be made fast. Lee said that several core concepts were already in place, such as the film's Frozen heart hook. That was a concept and a phrase. An act of true love will thaw a frozen heart. The ending involved true love in the sense of the emotional bond between siblings, not romance. Anna was going to save Elsa. We didn't know how or why. She said that Disney Animation president Edwin Catmull told her early about the film's ending. You have to earn that ending. If you do, it will be great. If you don't, it will suck. However, the final version differed significantly from the earlier ones. Elsa was evil from the start in the original version, kidnapping Anna from her own wedding to freeze her heart and later descending on the town with an army of snowmen. The whole second act was about Anna trying to get to Hansen to kiss him and then Elsa trying to stop her. Bach said that the original plot attempted to make Anna sympathetic by focusing on her frustration with being a spare in relation to the heir. The revised plot focused on musical comedy, with less action and adventure. Let It Go transforms the story. A breakthrough was the song Let It Go by Lopez and Anderson Lopez, which reimagined Elsa as a more complex, vulnerable, and sympathetic character. According to a story in the Daily Telegraph, the songwriters saw Elsa not as a villain but as a scared girl struggling to control and come to terms with her gift. Bobby and Kristen started talking about what would it feel like to be Elsa, Lee said, and this concept of letting out who she is, that she's kept to herself for so long, and she's alone and free, but then the sadness of the fact, that the last moment is she's alone. Del Vecchio said that Let It Go changed Elsa into a person ruled by fear and Anna was ruled by her own love of other people and her own drive. This caused Lee to rewrite the first act and then that tripled through the entire movie. So that was when we really found the movie and who these characters were. Plot development and character evolution. Another breakthrough was developing the plot twist that Prince Hans, absent from the first drafts, would be revealed as the true villain near the end. Del Vecchio said, if we were going to make the ending so surprising, you had to believe at one point that Hans was the answer. When he's not the answer, it's Kristoff. If you can get the audience to leap ahead and think they have figured it out, you can surprise them by turning it the other way. According to Lee, Hans was written as sociopathic and twisted. It was difficult to lay the foundation for Anna's belated turn to Kristoff without also making Hans' betrayal of Anna too predictable, in that the audience had to feel her feeling something but not quite understanding it, because the minute it is understood, it deflated. In earlier drafts, Anna flirted with Kristoff at their first meeting. That was changed after Walt Disney Studios chair Alan Horn said that it would confuse and annoy viewers, since Anna was already engaged to Hans. Lee had to work through developing Anna's personality. Some of her colleagues felt that the character should be more dysfunctional and codependent. Lee disagreed, but it took her almost a year to articulate that this is what Anna's journey is. No more than that, no less than that. She successfully argued for a simple coming-of-age story where she goes from having a naive view of life and love because she's lonely to the most sophisticated and mature view of love, where she's capable of the ultimate love, which is sacrifice. Lee had to let go of ideas that she liked, such as a scene of Anna and Elsa's relationship as teenagers, because they needed to maintain the separation between the characters. To construct Anna and Elsa's relationship, Lee was inspired by her relationship with her older sister. She called her older sister My Elsa in a Los Angeles Times op-ed, and walked the red carpet with her at the '86 Academy Awards. Lee said, having to lose each other and then rediscover each other as adults, that was a big part of my life. The team changed Olaf from Elsa's obnoxious sidekick to Anna's comically innocent one. Lee's initial response to the original mean version of Olaf was kill the effing snowman, and she found him the hardest character to deal with. The problem of how Anna would save Elsa at the climax was solved by story artist John Ripa. At the meeting where Ripa pitched his take on the story, Lasseter said, "I've never seen anything like that before." Ripa received a standing ovation. The team abandoned considerable detail from earlier drafts, such as a troll with a Brooklyn accent, to explain Elsa's magical powers, and the regent Lee hoped to cast comedian Louis C.K. as. These were cut because they contributed to a much more complex story than really we felt like we could fit in this 90-minute film. As Del Vecchio said, the more we tried to explain things at the beginning, the more complicated it got. Jennifer Lee promoted to co-director. With Lee's extensive involvement in the development process, she was promoted to co-director by studio heads Lasseter and Catmull in August 2012. Her promotion was announced that November, making her the first woman to direct a full-length animated film from Walt Disney Animation Studios. Lee later said that she was really moved by a lot of what Chris had done and they share the vision of the story. having very similar sensibilities. Final story development. The team thought they had cracked the film's story by November 2012, but, according to Del Vecchio, in late February 2013 it was realized that it still wasn't working and more rewriting was done from February through June of that year. We rewrote songs, we took out characters and changed everything, and suddenly the movie gelled. But that was close, in hindsight, piece of cake. But during, it was a big struggle. Anderson Lopez joked that she and Lopez thought they could have ended up working as birthday party clowns if the final product pulled down their careers. We were really writing up until the last minute. In June, 5 months before the announced release date, the songwriters got the film working when they composed for the first time in forever, which, according to Lopez, became the linchpin of the whole movie. Disney conducted test screenings that month of the partially completed film for two audiences, one of families and the other of adults, in Phoenix, Arizona, at which Lasseter and Catmull were present. Lee recalled that it was the moment when they realized they had something, because the reaction was huge. Catmull told her afterwards, "You did it." Voice casting. Kristen Bell was cast as the voice of Anna on March 5, 2012. The filmmakers listened to a series of vocal tracks Bell recorded when she was young in which she performed songs from The Little Mermaid, including Part of Your World. Bell completed her Frozen recording sessions while she was pregnant and re-recorded some lines after her pregnancy, when her voice had deepened. She was called in to re-record dialogue for the film probably 20 times, which is normal for lead roles in Disney animated films whose scripts are evolving. About her approach to the role of Anna, Bell said that she had dreamed of being in a Disney animated film since she was 4 years old. "I always loved Disney animation, but there was something about the females that was unattainable to me. Their posture was too good and they were too well-spoken. And I feel like I really made this girl much more relatable and weirder and scrappier and more excitable and awkward. I'm really proud of that." Idina Menzel, a Broadway veteran, was cast as Elsa. Menzel had auditioned for Tangled, but did not get the part. Tangled casting director Jamie Sparrow Roberts kept a recording of Menzel's performance on her iPhone, however, and asked her to audition with Bell for Frozen, before they were cast. Menzel and Bell impressed the directors and producers at an early table read. After reading the script aloud, they sang "Wind Beneath My Wings" as a duet, since no music had been composed yet. Bell suggested that idea when she visited Menzel at her California home to prepare for the table read. The songwriters were also present for the table read. Anderson Lopez said that Lasseter was in heaven on hearing Menzel and Bell sing in harmony and said, "Kristen Bell and Idina Menzel have to be in the movie." Lee said, "They sung, Sick, It Like Sisters and What You Mean to Me, and there wasn't a dry eye in the house after they sang." Additional casting was announced between December 2012 and June 2013, including Jonathan Groff as Kristoff, Alan Tudyk as the Duke of Weselton, Santino Fontana as Prince Hans, and Josh Gad as Olaf. Filming animation style and visual development similar to Tangled, Frozen employed a unique artistic style by blending features of computer-generated imagery, CGI, and traditional hand-drawn animation. Buck knew that JMO was the best candidate to develop the style he had in mind, drawing from the best Disney hand-drawn films of the 1950s, the Disney Little Golden Books, and mid-century modern design, and persuaded him to return to Disney as Frozen's art director. Buck, Lasseter, and JMO were old friends who met at the California Institute of the Arts. JMO had been the art director for Disney's Pocahontas, 1995, on which Buck had worked as a supervising animator. Research and location inspiration to create the film's look. JMO began pre-production research by reading about Scandinavia. Frozen has 312 character rigs and 245 cloth costume rigs, far more than other Disney films to date. 50 effects and lighting artists worked together on technology to create one single shot in which Elsa builds her ice palace. It required 30 hours to render each frame, with 4,000 computers rendering one frame at a time. In addition to 3D effects, The filmmakers used 2D artwork and drawings for specific elements and scenes, which included Elsa's magic and snow sculptures and freezing fountains and floors. The effects group created a capture stage where the entire world of Frozen was displayed on monitors, which can be filmed on special cameras to create a three-dimensional scene. "We can take this virtual set that's mimicking all of my actions and put it into any one of our scenes in this film," said technology manager Evan Goldberg. Frozen was the final film from Walt Disney Animation Studios that used Pixar RenderMan for rendering. The studio switched to Hyperion, its new rendering software, with Big Hero 6 cultural research and setting the setting as the fictional kingdom of Arendelle, which was based on Norway, and the film was influenced by Scandinavian culture. Several locations in Arendelle are inspired by real-life landmarks in Norway, including the Akershus Fortress in Oslo, the Nidaros Cathedral in Trondheim, and Bryggen in Bergen. A number of other Scandinavian cultural elements are also included in the film, such as stave churches, trolls, Viking ships, a hot spring, fjord horses, clothes, and foods such as lutefisk. A maypole is also present in the film, and runes briefly appear in a book which Anna and Elsa's father opens to learn where the trolls live. A scene where two men argue over whether to stack firewood bark up or bark down refers to a perennial Norwegian debate about properly stacking firewood. The film has several elements of **me culture, such as the use of reindeer for transportation and the equipment used to control them, clothing styles, the outfits of the ice cutters, and parts of the musical score. Decorations, such as those on the castle pillars and Kristoff's sled, are inspired by **me decorations. Disney's team visited Sediller Rosrin, a **me family-owned company in the town of Plasja that produces reindeer meat and arranges tourist events. Arendelle was inspired by Broken Bar Sedilla Fjord, a branch of Norway's longest fjord, Sognefjorden, which has been listed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. In Oslo Castle with hand-painted patterns on all four walls inspired the kingdom's castle interior. The filmmakers' trip to Norway provided information for the animators to design an aesthetic in terms of color, light, and atmosphere. According to JMO, they acquired three important factors from the Norway research trip: the fjords and their massive, vertical rock formations, the setting for the secluded kingdom of Arendelle, the medieval stave churches whose rustic triangular roof lines and shingles inspired the castle compound, and Rosemalling folk art, whose distinctive paneling and patterns informed the film's architecture, decor, and costumes. Music songwriters and composition process. The songs for Frozen were written by the husband and wife team of Robert Lopez and Kristen Anderson Lopez, both of whom had worked with Disney Animation on Winnie the Pooh, 2011, also produced by Del Vecchio, who hired them for Frozen, and with Disney Parks on Finding Nemo the musical, 2007. Lopez first heard Disney Animation's pitch in Los Angeles while he was working on the Book of Mormon. Disney's production team traveled to New York City to pitch the film in person to Anderson Lopez, who was raising the couple's two young daughters. Lopez believes that Disney was particularly interested in his wife's story talent. The decision was easy: whenever Disney asks if you want to do a fairy tale musical, you say yes. About 23 minutes of the film are dedicated to their musical numbers. Because they live in New York City, collaborating with the production team in Burbank required to review and fax. Number 1. Frozen 2 isn't the emotional joyride its predecessor was, but Elsa and gang still deliver an exuberant, magical northern adventure. Frozen 2 synopsis: 3 years after becoming queen, Elsa is at ease with her awesome powers while Arendelle is prosperous and peaceful. In the midst of this, Elsa begins to hear a strange voice, the humming of which reminds her of a lullaby her late mother once sang to her. After she accidentally releases 4 elemental spirits while pursuing the voice, Elsa journeys to the enchanted forest of the Northalder people with Anna and the rest, a place that has been surrounded by impassable magical fog for decades. There, she not only uncovers an unknown story about her parents, She also learns the reason for her powers. Unfortunately, with these realizations also come the pressing need to correct a decades-old mistake. Snappy review. Am I right to say Disney seldom does well with sequels for animated hits? I'm not talking about the sequels made by subsidiary companies like Pixar. I'm referring to the Part 2s and 3s for cinematic hits like Aladdin, The Little Mermaid, or even Tangled. While few of those were downright bad, none truly matched up to their predecessors. Heck, practically all weren't even meant for cinematic release. They were either direct-to-video or direct-to-cable. Because of this, I wasn't looking forward to Frozen 2. Yeah, the trailer was promising. There's a lot of mystery left in Elsa's story too. But overall, it still felt like one of those franchise-milking things. Silly as it sounds, I was also convinced the sequel would be about Elsa having another power crisis. Maybe she would be tempted by something that could remove her icy magic once and for all. Maybe that comes with some sort of horrible cost, etc., etc. How wrong I was, and how pleasant it was to discover I was so wrong. There are many things that are deeply enjoyable about this sequel, even if, as I highlighted above, it's not the emotional roller coaster Part 1 was. For starters, there's more music, including 2 songs that are quite different from the rest and presented in truly hilarious MTV style. There's also the long-awaited, canon, explanation for Elsa's powers, and the revelation of what exactly happened to her parents. Speaking of powers, it was nothing short of exuberant to see Elsa at the peak of her dazzling might. Brief as the action scenes were, they fully capitalized on the inherent elegance of frost magic. Lastly, it was so wonderfully fulfilling to see Elsa at ease with what tormented her previously. Might I add, she obviously has been training too. This is no longer an awkward magic child. Number 2. Princess Elsa Menzel can create snow, and as a child she accidentally injures her sister Anna, Bell. She tries to control her gift, but when her power is revealed at her coronation, she flees in panic, plunging the kingdom into eternal winter. Anna must go after her and find a way to undo the spell. Disney has always taken a fast and loose approach to adapting classic fairy tales, adding dragons to Sleeping Beauty, talking crabs to The Little Mermaid, and dancing teapots to Beauty and the Beast. But their adaptations also have distinct phases. There were the early, faintly Germanic fantasies, the lackluster 80s and the feisty 90s princesses. Now we're in the Tangled era, notable for big Broadway numbers, large quadrupeds that act like canines, and adjectival titles that don't mention the heroine. The result here is that a story about 2 sisters, a powerful, scared Elsa, Idina Menzel, and good-hearted Anna, Kristen Bell, is planted in, and occasionally obscured by, an almost entirely male supporting cast. The emotional moments are powered by the bond between the manga-looking, wasp-waisted sisters, their eyes literally bigger than their stomachs say, but the comedy comes largely from the buddy relationships between the guys. Heroic ice harvester Kristoff, Jonathan Groff, dog-like reindeer Svan, and sentient snowman Olaf, Josh Gad. It's a division of labor that leaves the very funny Anna playing second fiddle and Elsa's struggle to either control her powers or revel in them sidelined for long stretches, undermining the finale. Thankfully, the jokes consistently land, particularly those involving cheery, innocent snowman Olaf, and the snowy, icy animation is impeccable. The big songs are also appropriately stirring. Idina Menzel belts Let It Go like it insulted her mother, and Gods in Summer is a cheery, comic ditty straight out of the Book of Mormon's playbook. There is even one plot turn that qualifies as radical in fairy tale terms and perhaps signals a more daring way to approach these films. Given how closely most of this entry resembles the beats and tone of Tangled, it feels like Disney Animation should take more such risks, to add more individual identity to the craft. The plot's all over the place, but there are a lot of laughs and some strong action beats along the way. Number 3. Move Over. Frosty, a quixotic snowman who longs to experience summer, handily steals the show in Frozen, Disney's 53rd in-house animated feature and one of its most classical, with the Hans Christian Andersen pedigree, a full-fledged show tune score, and little of the ironic humor that has become the lingua franca of most contemporary tunes. But this always enjoyable tale of mysterious magic, imperiled princesses and square-jawed men of action proves longer on striking visuals than on truly engaging or memorable characters. With the family crowd pretty much to itself this holiday season, Frozen should generate considerable box office heat, if not quite the same level of critical and audience affection that attended the superior Tangled and Wreck-It Ralph, the result of a decade-long effort by the studio to fashion an animated feature from Anderson's classic The Snow Queen. Frozen ultimately bears only the most superficial resemblance to its source, the haunting story of a young girl's efforts to free her true love from the mind-altering effects of a cursed mirror and the icy lair of the eponymous snow spirit. Instead, writer-directors Chris Buck, a veteran Disney animator with credits dating back to The Fox and the Hound, and Jennifer Lee, who co-scripted Wreck-It Ralph, give us a more conventional tale of two sisters, younger Anna, Kristen Bell, and elder Elsa, Idina Menzel, heirs to the enchanted Scandinavian kingdom of Arendelle, also a return of sorts to Disney tradition after the dutiful PC dues paying of Pocahontas, Mulan and the Princess and the Frog. As seen in the movie's opening moments, the girls are the closest of childhood friends, their playtime enhanced by Elsa's unexplained ability to conjure a wonderland of ice and snow with the literal waving of her fingertips. But like Midas' golden touch, Elsa's powers soon seem more curse than blessing. When an errant icicle nearly proves fatal to Anna, the king and queen seal the castle gates, while Elsa further cuts herself off from that circumscribed world, coming of age in solitude even after a shipwreck leaves her and Anna orphans. Only as Elsa's coronation day draws near does she emerge from her seclusion, still uncertain as to whether or not she can control her gift, which, like the telekinetic rage of Stephen King's Carrie, seems to be triggered by intense surges of emotion. Meanwhile, Anna has had all memory of her childhood trauma wiped, Men in Black style, by some friendly neighborhood trolls, leaving her all the more miffed by Big Sis the troll and figurative cold shoulder. These early passages play out pleasantly enough, enhanced by nice detail work showing the bustle of daily Arendelle life and an amusing turn by Alan Tudyk, last seen as Ralph's megalomaniacal turbo, as the nosy, diminutive Duke of neighboring Weaselton, which, to his great consternation, everyone mispronounces as Weaseltown. But the narrative of Frozen only really kicks into gear with the palace ball following the coronation, where everything seems to be going hunky-dory until Anna makes the mistake of asking her sister's permission to marry the dashing Prince Hans of the Southern Isles, Santino Fontana, whom, admittedly, she only met earlier that same day. To say that Elsa's reaction puts a chill in the air would be an Arctic understatement. Think Carrie's prom crossed with the ice-capades, with her secret laid bare for all to see. A devastated Elsa flees into the surrounding mountains, enveloping all of summertime Arendelle in a thick permafrost as she does. Anna gives chase, but proves ill-equipped for the rugged and frigid terrain, eventually stumbling upon a small trading post, run by a hulking Swede named Oken, voiced by bold co-director Chris Williams, that has wasted no time in jacking up prices on its minimal supply of off-season winter provisions. It's there that she crosses paths with Kristoff, Jonathan Groff, a flaxen-haired dice seller somewhat lacking in social graces. His best, and possibly only, friend is his trusty, sleigh-pulling reindeer, Sven. But with his own bottom line taking a sizable hit from the sudden climate change, he agrees to help Anna search for Elsa in the hope of once again bringing sunshine to the land. Which is around the time Olaf enters the picture, an anthropomorphic snowman brought to life by Elsa's magic, with a row of buck teeth and a few twigs of would-be hair atop his head. This irrepressible optimist, marvelously voiced by Book of Mormon alum Josh Gad, likes warm hugs and possesses a most unhealthy fascination with the summer, a season he's never experienced, and whose dangers to his person he seems blithely unaware of. This leads to Frozen's most inspired musical number, In Summer, as Olaf imagines himself bounding through blooming meadows, soaking up the sun and engaging in other flights of seasonal fancy, all wryly visualized by Buck and Lee and expressed in playful lyrics by the husband and wife songwriting team of Kristen Anderson Lopez and Robert Lopez, the latter a Tony winner for his work on Avenue Q on Book of Mormon. The tactile, snow-capped Arendelle landscape, including Elsa's ice castle retreat, Imagine Superman's fortress of solitude with a more feminine touch. Is Frozen's other true marvel, enhanced by 3D and the decision to shoot in widescreen, a nod to the cinemascope richness of Sleeping Beauty and Lady and the Tramp. That's almost but not quite enough to make up for the somewhat slack plotting and the generic nature of the main characters. Neither princess here is a patch on Tangled's Babe in the Woods Rapunzel, while both Hans and Kristoff are cut from pretty standard issue hero cloth until a reasonably surprising third act twist somewhat ups the ante. Only Olaf is unimpeachable. Get this snowman a spin-off feature to call his own. Frozen goes out accompanied by Get a Horse. Director Lauren Macmillan's utterly dazzling 5-minute short starring Mickey Mouse, Minnie, Peg-Leg Pete and other vintage Disney characters in a Sherlock Jr.-style adventure that finds their hand-drawn 1930s avatars bursting through a movie screen and into the 3D/CG era. Though the animation is all new, including impeccable recreations of the black-and-white Disney, Byworks style, the sound is predominantly archival, including Uncle Walt himself as the voice of his iconic alter ego. Number 4. Anna and Elsa are two sisters who live together in a castle at Arendelle. Elsa was born with magical powers so she could conjure snow and ice. Elsa had to conceal her powers so no one would get hurt. But on her coronation day to become queen, all of that changed. Her emotions got to her and her powers were revealed. Elsa ran away to keep people safe, and to start a new life on the North Mountain. Anna sets out to try and help her, but things do not turn out the way they should. My review: the story in this movie was really intriguing. I was hooked as soon as Anna sang, "Do you want to build a snowman?" I really liked Elsa's character. She is more mature and respectful compared to most Disney princesses. I thought Anna was too similar to Rapunzel. They look a lot alike and they act similar. I wish they had come up with an original idea for Anna. Furthermore, I think Hans must be the worst villain ever to appear in a Disney movie. When he went to Elsa's castle, he helped her when she could have been killed by the man with the crossbow right there and then. A true Disney villain would have taken the opportunity and just let her die. I'm happy she didn't die, but Hans is a poor excuse for a villain in my opinion. Other than that, I really enjoyed the movie. The songs get stuck in your head and they're really fun to listen to. My rating: I would give this movie a 7/10. I really love the music, but some of the characters could have improved a lot more. Number 5. Last Wednesday Chris took me to see Disney's Frozen. I have talked about the movie for months, and was so excited to see it. Since I've had a few people ask me what I thought about the movie, I decided to write my review on the blog. Every review I have seen has a general synopsis of the storyline. In fact, 90% of them give away the plot twists of the story, making it pointless to pay to go see the movie in theaters. I promised not to do that. In fact, I've double and triple checked, along with asking Chris to read this post multiple times, just to make sure I have given nothing away. There are no spoilers in this post, so feel free to read on. Disney's Frozen is a story of two sisters who go on a grand adventure in the midst of a winter snowstorm. Along the way they meet some lovable characters who not only help them realize their potential, but also bring a bit of comedic relief to an otherwise very heavy storyline. To thoroughly review the movie, I'm going to break my thoughts into 4 different sections. Bear with me because this post is a bit lengthy, but I wanted to fully write down my thoughts on the movie and give you the best possible review. This post contains affiliate links. I may earn commission from qualifying purchases at no additional cost to you. I will never recommend a product I don't use or trust. Music: in every Broadway musical there is a thing called an overture, a song that opens up the play and gives you a bit of backstory along with it. Disney has been using this Broadway technique for years, especially with the 80s to 90s movies, Beauty and the Beast, The Little Mermaid, etc. What I really loved about Frozen was that their opening number was very reminiscent of Look Down from Les Miserables, one of my favorite Broadway musicals. Frozen's opening song, Frozen Heart, did not have a lot to do with the story, but it did make me feel like Disney was trying to get back to the classics that have served them so well. All of the main singers for Frozen got their start on Broadway, which is a fact I really love. Although no other songwriter, composer team will ever compare to the power duo that was Alan Menken and Howard Ashman, Robert Lopez and Kristen Anderson Lopez did a really great job with this movie. The songs were fun, memorable, and powerful. Kristen Bell's voice reminds me of the traditional Disney princesses who had very light and airy type voices, whereas Idina Menzel's voice is very deep and powerful, great for belting out a ballad. Character development. Main characters. Elsa, played by Idina Menzel. I felt like Elsa's character went through a lot in the movie. It was really interesting to see her go from a carefree child to a very guarded adult. I really loved her story and the changes she went through as a person. Her final lesson is a very powerful one that will greatly benefit any young girl or adult who struggles with finding themselves. Anna, played by Kristen Bell. Anna started out as a very typical Disney princess who wanted nothing more than to find her true love, things herself from Enchanted. I think her story was the most compelling for me because as the story goes along her priorities completely change. The main theme in her own personal storyline is true love, and it was really interesting to see how the storytellers used that in ways I never expected. Secondary characters. Prince Hans, played by Santino Fontana. Hans is one character that I really enjoyed watching. His character development is the best out of all the secondary characters because his personal story unfolds in ways you'd never expect. Hans is also the most surprising character, but you'll have to go see the movie to find out what I mean. Kristoff, played by Jonathan Groff. Kristoff's character development was seriously lacking. I was really disappointed with how little they developed his character, because you never really got the sense of who he was or why he was important to the main storyline. I loved the fun song they gave him to sing in the movie, but wished he had at least one serious song so we can hear his swoon-worthy voice really have a chance to shine. Olaf, played by Josh Gad. Olaf was a very interesting character for Frozen. He provided lots of comedic relief in places that would have been too heavy without it. He was also a very cute secondary character, kind of like Pascal from Tangled, except Olaf can talk. There wasn't a lot of character development for Olaf either, but he really didn't need much. He was basically there to provide comedic relief, sing a cute song, and that was it. Animation. When I think of Disney animation, I think of all the beautifully hand-drawn movies that I love so much. I haven't been a huge fan of the computer animation movies that have come out lately because the characters look so fake. The hand-drawn princesses look so much more lifelike to me. But I was pleasantly surprised at how they balanced the hand-drawn look of the characters of Frozen with computer animation. The computer animation during Elsa's song, Let It Go, is probably my favorite out of the entire movie. The colors, the beautiful cinematography, and the animation is far superior to anything I've seen lately. The song is also my favorite out of the entire soundtrack, which may be why I feel so strongly about the animation during that scene. The only animation complaint I have is that Olaf didn't have a very expressive face. As a character whose sole purpose was to provide comic relief, his lack of facial expressions doesn't allow for the full range of comedic expression we've come to expect from Disney. In Tangled, Maximus and Pascal had a lot of different expressions for every situation they were in. Olaf, unfortunately, did not. Storyline. Frozen really reminds me of some of my favorite Disney movies from when I was a kid. I feel like they're really trying to get back to what made the classics so great. But, even though I really believe that, I think there were still some flaws within Frozen's storyline. The first half of the movie was extremely song-heavy, and while they gave you great musical numbers such as Let It Go and Love is an Open Door, after they were over you were left wanting more. I also wish that they had at least talked about the curse more than they did, because once you found out where it came from, in 2 lines or less, you never heard about its origin again. The end of the movie was very compelling, and it had a great message about the power of true love, and how there are all different kinds of it. All in all, I felt like Frozen was a great family movie with a very powerful message that you can talk about with your children for years to come. Overall feelings, I really loved the movie and would love to go see it again. I am currently trying to talk Chris into the idea. It reminds me of all the reasons I love Disney movies and brings back those sweet childhood memories of watching Beauty and the Beast and The Little Mermaid. I think Disney has a winner with this movie. The songs, storyline, and characters will be cherished by Disney lovers for years to come, and I can easily see this becoming a classic. Have you gone out to see the movie yet? Do you have any plans to? If you've seen it, what were your thoughts? Just remember, no spoilers in the comments please. We don't want to ruin the magic for anyone who hasn't seen it yet. Number 6. After watched Aladdin and Lion King here in New York, I thought that nothing would surprise me so much in terms of Broadway musicals, but then came Frozen and had to revise all my concepts. Running since January this year, the musical has drawn people of all ages to the St. James Theatre, in crowded sections. I had the chance to check the show up a few days ago and I can say it surpassed all my expectations, and I could not fail to share this with you. First of all, let's make it clear that I was the kind of person who could no longer hear Let It Go. The success of the Disney movie was so much that it bothered me. I confess that I so tired of listening to the song A, and, of course, I was never in the mood of watching the movie A, and I was also overwhelmed of seeing things related to the movie out there. I knew it was not a classic Disney story A, and I understood what it was about 3 years ago when we watched Disney on Ice. But then you wonder why I had this curiosity about the musical on Broadway. Because after a few years, Frozen was not so trendy. I wasn't so bothered about it, and I knew that a Disney production on Broadway would not be disappointing. It would be, at least, interesting. And that's how I decided to buy the tickets and check the show up close. I had heard wonderful comments before, but somehow I did not raise many expectations. The queue was huge, and while I waited for my friend to enter the theater, I talked to the guy who helped people in. I asked him if that crowd was repeated every day, which he confirmed. First of all, if you have no idea what the story of Frozen is all about, let's take a brief summary. Without spoilers, the plot narrates the relationships between Elsa and Anna, two sisters, who are part of the royalty and are best friends. The relationships between the two and the family in general is somewhat shaken by Elsa's ice powers, a secret that becomes a bit dangerous as they grow and Elsa takes on new responsibilities. You may be wondering when the prince enters the story. That's the difference. Frozen is no longer a fairy tale about a helpless princess who needs a man to save her. It's about the love and friendships between two sisters. In fact, there is even a critique of this thing of marrying the princess with the first guy that appears in front of her. The story is touching, and I left the theater happy to know that so many children love so much such a beautiful story. Well, now that you already have an idea of what the story is about, we can talk about production and special effects. As the name suggests, and as I mentioned earlier, a lot of ice is involved in the plot. Knowing a little of the story, I was curious to see what would be the adaptation for a musical and, more importantly, how it would be the special effects. That's what makes musicals so magical. After all, special effects on films and animations are possible with digital help. But what happens when we talk about a stage where everything rolls live? What I like to observe in musicals is the precision of the details and the synchronicity with the effects, with the cast and the story. And this all rolls with a lot of mastery on Frozen. The change of scenery, the effects of lights, sounds and noises. It's a perfection that left me open-mouthed. I'm still trying to figure out how a full dress swap happened on stage. I'm not going to tell you which scene not to spoil the surprise. It was really magical. In fact, I should not be the only one to think so, since nobody in the audience hid their reactions. The costume was great as well and reproduces the characters in the Disney's movie. Finally, we need to talk about the cast. From the two girls who play Elsa and Anna as kids to the character with fewer lines, all the actors were wonderful in their performances. Here, I need to make two comments that I think are pertinent. One is about casting black actors. Eleni Aladdin plays Kristoff and Nicholas Ward plays King Agnar. I found this wonderful. Incidentally, the actor who plays Kristoff is one of the great highlights of the musical. In addition, the day I watched Frozen, actress Patty Murin, who plays Anna, was replaced by another actress, Aisha Jackson, also black. Jackson became the first black actress to portray Anna on Broadway, and she was flawless in her role. In a musical where there are so many children in the audience, I found this preoccupation with diversity beautiful, even though we are still far from perfection since the overwhelming majority of the cast was white. Besides, we need to talk about Olaf. The snowman that is featured in the film is also featured on the stage. Greg Hildreth, who gives voice and movement to the snowman, always had a smile on his face and it charmed everyone. My conclusion: Frozen is unforgettable. I got emotional a lot of times during the show. Definitely a must-see. Facts about Frozen: to adapt the film for Broadway, the creative team added 12 new songs. The Disney animation had only 6, so they wrote new songs for each of the main characters to sing. Of course, it's hard to compete with Let It Go, but there are beautiful duets, like Anna's with Kristoff. The musical has the same creative team as the movie. Elsa's dress took some 400 hours to make. Ice is the clear star of the show. There are video screens that shift and ice over when Elsa lets her powers loose. Members of the ensemble play snowstorms, swirling and solidifying into ice. Even Swarovski crystals descend from the ceiling as high-end ice Elsa wears. It's a great book for children who are Frozen obsessed. That will be most of them, and I think it will be especially fun after the kids have seen the new film, to keep the story alive and help them remember what happens. Then they can relive the excitement of the movie at home while waiting for the DVD to come out. And beyond, of course, Disney Frozen 2: The Magical Guide is full of colorful spreads, 96 pages, with beautiful illustrations, and the text is nicely laid out and large, making it easy to read for kids. My eldest loves to read herself and my middle girl is copying this behavior too, so that's an important aspect for us. The short snippets of text makes it ideal for independent reading. It's a magical companion to the new Frozen film, and I'm sure it will be a hit with all young Frozen fans out there. Buy the book from Amazon.co.uk for just £5.93. RRP £9.99, price correct at the time of publishing. Number 9. Forget Girl Power. Sisterly love in the high belt clarion call of Let It Go. Anxiety over the handling of a precious gift is the theme that comes through loudest in Frozen, the sometimes rousing, often dull, alternately dopey and anguished Disney musical that opened on Broadway on Thursday. The precious gift is not, I hasten to add, the frizzray of Queen Elsa, which threatens her kingdom without any corresponding benefits. Couldn't they at least hook her up to a gelato machine? Nor is it the warm-heartedness of her sister, Anna, which puts her at constant risk of unelective cryogenesis. No, the precious gift causing so much anxiety at the Street James Theatre is the 2013 blockbuster film from which the stage musical has been adapted. After all, $1.3 billion in box office is a lot of ice. In ways that are both successful and not, you can feel the director, Michael Grandage, and his design team, sets and costumes by Christopher Oram, lights by Natasha Katz, straining to make something artistically worthy of the property's commercial promise. At least in comparison with the tryout I reviewed in Denver in September, they're getting closer. The show's masterly first 20 minutes, for instance, have been significantly rejiggered since Denver, and show Mr. Grandage getting the backstory squared away swiftly. As little girls, Elsa and Anna, princesses of Arendelle, are loving besties until their parents, the king and queen, are forced to separate them once Elsa's leaky magic grows powerful enough to threaten Anna's safety. When the girls are then orphaned, the separation becomes permanent. Elsa grows up confined by her power and sense of duty, Anna saddened and rebellious in reaction to their estrangement. It's like The Crown but colder, eventful and uninterrupted, with no chance to applaud the songs until Anna's love interest, Prince Hans, appears a third of the way through the first act. The opening suggests that Frozen might prove to be unusually coherent for a Disney musical. Behind the scenes at the new 42nd Street Studios, the building where Broadway rehearses, featuring Margaret Atwood, Pretty Woman, child stars and cronuts, it is also very beautiful to look at. Certainly it does not attempt to lighten a story that's fundamentally dark. Miss Katz's moody lighting, all amber and gold and sepia on Mr. Oram's Scandinavian storybook castle, suggests Rembrandt, even if Mr. Grandage was going for the feeling of Shakespeare's pastoral comedies. You know, Shakespeare pastoral comedies like the one in which Elphaba and Glinda are frenemies. Wicked seems a more obvious template for Frozen than As You Like It. In any case, once the castle gates swing open for Elsa's coronation, letting in townspeople and the requisite Disney cuteness, a different style and palette take over, and Frozen begins its long descent into confusion. The problem has nothing to do with the performances, which are never less than professional if seldom much more than that. As Elsa, Casey Levy booms out her numbers with astonishing aplomb, and her Let It Go really is sensational, and, as Anna, Patty Murin makes a charming madcap. Both find what nuances they can in characters very narrowly drawn to type. It's therefore a huge relief, and feels fully genuine, when they get to share a fleeting smile or giggle. That they almost never sing together as they head out on separate adventures is a structural problem no one has solved, nor are the numbers for the subsidiary characters compelling. Still, Prince Hans, John Riddle, is Disney dashing his rival, the ice seller Kristoff, Jelani Aladdin, as Beamish and the Creatures, Greg Hildreth as Olaf the Snowman, and Andrew Pirazzi as Van the Reindeer, are aptly all-worthy and ready for purchase in the lobby. But these two elements of Frozen, the somber and the silly, are not blending, visually, musically or emotionally. On screen, the U-turns from Norwegian chanting, "Vooli," to musical comedy charm, "Do You Want to Build a Snowman?" to Carnaby Street pop, "Love is an Open Door," can be made to fit with the anything goes animation aesthetic. On stage, the dozen or so new songs that Kristen Anderson Lopez and Robert Lopez have written to supplement the 7 they wrote for the movie feel over-tailored to their moments and, as a result, though in 1 or 2 cases lovely, mismatched. That problem echoes throughout the production. If there are dozens of words for snow in circumpolar languages, there are as many looks for ice in Frozen. I'm sorry to say that none of these special effects are especially effective, except in reminding you that there are things that cannot be done well on stage. The best attempt is the simplest, a stunning curtain of Swarovski crystals, arranged in patterns that blend traditional Norwegian rose-malling imagery with wonderful World of Disney sparkles and swirls. But even an elegant solution like that ends up revealing the contradictions baked into the story's DNA. When Elsa, in the midst of Let It Go, transforms from scared little girl to empowered young woman by means of a magical dress trick, it's the definition of fabulous, but also the definition of Cher. Are we in a Broadway show, an animated movie, or a Vegas review? The confusion cannot be blamed on Jennifer Lee, who wrote and co-directed the movie and has written the book for the musical. Her work is no worse than that of previous Disney adapters, and in its attention to girls as active characters regardless of men, a good deal better. For Broadway, Elsa has acquired a don't mess with me pair of applique copyright D trousers to replace a filmy nightgown she wore in the tryout, but as the material Disney wants to handle gets stark array, in this case it is positively neurotic. Its formulas get harder to justify, not to the bean counters. Obviously, animated musicals and their offshoots have never been so profitable, but whether Frozen will make Disney another billion on Broadway is not my concern, and whether it is suitable family entertainment despite its darkness is a question for parents of young children to decide. The second act seemed to put some of them to sleep. The kids, I mean. The question for me is whether Disney, with the endless resources and talent at its disposal, wants to make its own magical transformation into adulthood. Does it want to create serious, coherent modern musicals instead of cartoons that hedge all bets? If so, it may be time to say let it go to the formulas and the merchandise-able reindeer. Number 10. When her sister exhibits the power to freeze everything she touches, and is banished from the kingdom of Arendelle, Anna must trek through the snow and ice to find her and somehow get her to bring back summer. What we think. Top-line Disney feature is brilliantly animated, has a terrific voice cast and perfect performances, yet can't quite muster the spark of the old days of Disney's iconic classics. The story is near faultless, yes, and the technical wizardry on display here is at times breathtaking, but for whatever reason, the story didn't engage me like I'd hoped it would. The songs are great, though. A good film, just not a great one. Cold as ice. Willing to sacrifice her love. That old saying, they don't make 'em like they used to, is probably never more true than it is with animation. The days of teams of animators sitting in hot shed, with the Californian sun beating down on Disney's famed animation studios, are long gone, leaving behind the scrawled brilliance of Snow White, the lustrous coloring of Pinocchio, or the swiftly slick Peter Pan. What we have now is a different animation beast entirely, one born of both traditional and modern methods, and the use of computers and technology to enhance modern films has snagged a major partner in animation, given the technology is virtually limitless with what it can achieve on screen these days. Frozen, the second film to come from Disney using Tangled's visual style and technology, albeit modified in the years between, is a striking example of what can be achieved in modern animation today. Mind you, just because it looks amazing, doesn't always mean the film itself is great. Take off Avatar cough. Does Frozen manage to recapture the magic Disney is aiming for in their modern work, or is it just another also ran at the kiddie fair cinematic draw-off? Plot synopsis. Correct to Wikipedia. Elsa, Idina Menzel, Princess of Arendelle, has powers the power of snow and ice. But one night, while playing with her little sister Anna, Kristen Bell, Elsa accidentally injures her sibling. The king and queen seek help from trolls, whose leader, Grandpappy, Kieran Hines, heals Anna and erases her memories of her sister's powers. Deciding to keep their daughter's dangerous gift hidden until she learns to control it, the royal family lock themselves away inside their castle. Elsa, scared she'll hurt someone again, spends most of her time alone in her room, creating a rift between the two sisters as they grow up. As teenagers, their parents die traveling across the sea during a storm. Anna, believing herself to be the reason Elsa isolates herself, tries to regain her sister's affections, to no avail. 3 years later, the people of Arendelle prepare for Elsa's summer coronation. Among the visiting dignitaries is the Duke of Weselton, Alan Tudyk, a tradesman who wants to exploit Arendelle for profit. Excited that the castle's gates are open to the public for a day, Anna explores the town and meets Prince Hans Santino Fontana, of the Southern Isles, with the pair quickly developing a mutual attraction. After an incident-free coronation, during the reception Hans proposes to Anna, who hastily accepts. Elsa refuses to grant her blessing, setting off an argument between the sisters, which leads to her abilities being exposed to everyone. Panicked, Elsa flees, inadvertently unleashing an eternal winter on the kingdom in the process. No longer held back by her fear of being discovered, she celebrates her powers, building herself an ice palace and unknowingly bringing to life her childhood snowman, Olaf, Josh Gad. Anna sets out in search of Elsa, determined to return her to Arendelle, and the winter, and mend the relationship. While getting supplies, she meets mountain man Kristoff, Jonathan Groff, and his reindeer Sven. Anna convinces Kristoff to guide her to the North Mountain in search of her sister. The group meets Olaf, who leads them to Elsa's palace, where Anna must plead with her sister to bring back summer. Most of the time, writing reviews about films is a fairly easy job. You either love the film, like the film, or hate it. In any case, putting one's thoughts into a reasonable order enough to give people an idea on what one thinks about said film is, at least for me, typically an easy task. Not so for Frozen. I've written and rewritten this review several times now, each time trying to accurately convey my thoughts on Disney's icebound flick, although these thoughts aren't all that clear and my muddled mind seems intent on making this task harder than it ought. In trying to remain succinct, I end up waffling on about all manner of things that either annoyed me, or that I enjoyed, about this film. Frozen's critical reception from the majority of online and print journalism, and from bloggers whose opinions I trust, has been one of the instant classic variety. Frozen has been labeled as the best Disney film since its renaissance during the early 90s, which is high praise indeed if you're a fan of their work. Honestly, though, I found Frozen somewhat disengaging, even though the critical part of my brain was applauding the company and the storytellers for their brave decision to eschew the traditional Disney princess template, and strike out in a different, and fresh, direction. Even now, I'm not entirely sure that it wasn't partially to do with my expectations being so high, but for whatever reason, I didn't like Frozen as much as I hoped I would. It's still a fantastic movie, but I wasn't utterly blown away. The film's story involving two sisters, and their fractured relationship, is so utterly un-Disney. The mold is typically an attractive young girl, princess falls for a handsome dude, prince, overcomes an obstacle and live happily ever after. Yet here in Frozen that template is swept aside by a complete aversion to the happily ever after moments throughout. Sure, there's a bit of romance, Hans and Anna's whirlwind courtship and engagement is largely played for laughs. At least for me it was, but the primary arc for both Anna and Elsa was overcoming their estrangement, rather than love-smacked infatuation, based, extremely loosely, on Hans Christian Andersen's The Snow Queen fairy story. Frozen is filled with characters that come to life fully thanks to terrific scripting, wonderful voice casting, and dynamite animation. Anna, the primary character, is prototypical Disney female material, a strong-willed, determined, easily smitten with hot guys, and able to sing with virtually no training whatsoever. But not really. Voiced by Kristen Bell, Anna has the task of conveying the sorrow and, for Disney, rather adult motivation to rekindle the relationship with Elsa, who, to her, seems intent on keeping them apart. Bell traverses the comedy and the dramatic weight of the role well, imbuing Anna with an impish humor and sparkling humanity. Is she impossibly perfect? Yes, she is, but this is Disney after all. Can't have a heroine with too many flaws, can we? Elsa, voiced by the older Idina Menzel, Aussie fans will recall her from small parts in Glee and Disney's 2007 effort, Enchanted, is a darker Disney female than we've come to expect, at least for someone who isn't the villain. Elsa's powers provide the crux of the story's dramatic edge, with her seen as something of a sorceress by the ignorant and the easily frightened. She's as close to the film's villain as we get, at least up until the final act reveal of someone else as a traitorous cad, a twist I just didn't buy, frankly, and more on this later, even though she's a sympathetic, innocent victim in the whole scheme of things. Jonathan Groff plays a wonderful male lead in Kristoff, opposite Anna, and he brings that now ubiquitous Disney leading man template to life with ease. Kristoff is obviously Anna's real romantic interest, regardless of her infatuation with Prince Hans, a terrific Santino Fontana, and as much as the filmmakers might try otherwise, there's no hiding it. Much like Tangled's Flynn Rider, who wasn't initially interested in Rapunzel at all, Kristoff doesn't see Anna as anything other than a bothersome girl who bribes him to taking her to the North Mountain. There's a sense of familiarity to Kristoff, inasmuch as his character never really deviates from the traditionally Disney Hans and Prince cliché, but Groff brings a nice touch of humor and wounded pride to the role that made me chuckle. Easily the funniest character in this film, and the one who seems most out of place, really is Josh Gad's Olaf, the magically alive snowman. At first, a talking snowman seems at odds with the more realistic world of Frozen, and at times Olaf's inclusion does tend to feel a little forced. Exactly why is he in this film, after all, other than to bring some mild comedy relief? But Gad's winning vocal delivery and perfect comedic timing more than make up for this most jarring of characters. Also a comedic character, Kristoff's reindeer Sven, a voiceless yet still anthropomorphic creature with airy parallels to Tangled's Maximus, elicits more than a few guffaws with his antics. Now that I think about it, the basic similarities between Tangled and Frozen are rather sharply defined when one considers the characters and their traits in both movies. Frozen's animation is, and it's getting rather tiresome repeating myself for each new animated film coming out, absolutely stunning. The level of detail, from the smallest snowflake to the movement of clothing and hair. Watch the epaulets on Prince Hans' costume, that move even only slightly when the character shifts his weight. That level of minuscule detail is astonishing. There is no fault to be found with Frozen's visual acumen. The character design on this film is typical Disney. Other princesses are all gorgeous, with enormous puppy dog eyes and long flowing hair, while the leading men are square-jawed and handsome. Minor characters tend towards being that Disney-centric hodgepodge of short fat men, short fat women, and dumpy, weirdly shaped, completely inhuman bendable avatars that are utterly unrealistic, and obviously designed to be unlovable so that the main characters look better against them. A towering snow monster unleashed by an angry Elsa at one point is fun, and the effects used to render Elsa's powers are stunning. Equally as stunning are the film's many songs, some of which are actually sung throughout the movie. Frozen used the talents of husband-wife songwriting team Robert Lopez and Kristen Anderson Lopez, who pulled the same duty on Winnie the Pooh, to bring the story to life in song, and for the most part they work superbly. The film's title track, Let It Go, is magnificent, a freedom and exaltation ballad that Idina Menzel powers out with relish. Olaf gets a funny tune as he imagines himself experiencing summer, in its summer, while my personal favorite for the first time in forever evokes all the loneliness and newfound excitement Anna has in finally meeting new people. Even Fixer Upper, sung by the Trolls, is jaunty and sweet, although the only real weak spot of the film's music in my opinion. The songs, coupled with Christoph Beck's amazing orchestral score, complement the film superbly. Aside from the aforementioned problem I had with why Olaf was even included in this story, is the issues I had with the latter third of the film, especially the final act twist which sees an initially nice and sweet character, Prince Hans, suddenly turned into a complete asshole for no real good reason. The laws of improbability with Prince Hans' arc and his designs for Princess Anna, and Elsa, for that matter, are both profoundly illogical and highly unrealistic, leaving an adult viewer second-guessing themselves and wondering if maybe there was some cosmic joke they missed at the start. Kids won't care, but grown adults will. The final act tends to get rather thematically dark, even for a Disney flick, in the graphic depiction of Anna even turning into an, apparently, dead statue of ice, which is beautifully rendered but will probably give the young girls watching this nightmares for a week. Where the opening half of the film followed its own logic and never tried to skip across plot holes, there were none. The last act finds typical animated film tropes trotting out at the smackdown of the bad guy. The change in allegiances of the local townspeople within 2 seconds of the plot swerving around inconsistently, and the eventual romantic entanglement playing out to its natural shut up and kiss me conclusion. I know I sound like I'm ragging on Frozen, and that I didn't like it. I did like it, I liked it a lot, and as a film it has heaps of cool stuff going for it, but I didn't find it as memorably entertaining as, say, Tangled, or even some of the studio's older stuff like Aladdin. The voice cast are excellent, the humor and animation entertain equally, and the story is largely enthralling, but it just didn't grab me like I had hoped. I felt unengaged with the story, as if I was just watching a film and not investing in a story, if that makes sense. I'm sure in time, and plenty of rewatching with my daughter, Frozen will grow on me, but the film's initial impact is one of above-average entertainment, not outright brilliance. Rodney has been writing about films for well over 2 decades, appreciates a good wine, the love of his wife and kids, and the affection of his dog and cats. He has a fondness of cheesy 90s action and classic Hollywood, hates that physical media is disappearing, and wishes somebody would make a high-budget series of the never-ending story. Number 11 Elsa, Eva Bella, Idina Menzel, is the future queen of Arendelle, a fictional Scandinavian kingdom. Elsa has the power to turn everything into ice. She freezes her sister Anna's, Libby Stubbenbach, head as a child, and almost kills her. Anna is saved by a troll, who also removes all memories of Elsa's special power. Elsa's parents lock Elsa in her room for reasons Anna no longer understands, and Elsa becomes afraid of her powers and feels like she has to hide them, and hide herself, which causes Elsa a lot of stress. At her coronation, all the doors of the castle are thrown open and Elsa has been made queen, but Anna has news over her own. She is going to marry Prince Hans. Santino Forte. This announcement is too much for Elsa, doesn't want anyone else to find out her secret. Elsa also feels that Anna is rushing into a marriage, when she doesn't really understand. Under duress, Elsa can't control her powers and turns Arendelle into a place with a perpetual winter. Unable to cope with the results of her unfettered powers, Elsa runs off to North Mountain and builds a castle from ice. Anna is convinced that she can bring Elsa back from the North Mountain and stop the perpetual winter plaguing Arendelle. With the help of a mountaineer named Christoph, Jonathan Groff, and a magical snowman named Olaf, Josh Gad, who Elsa created as a child, Anna tries to convince Elsa that she belongs in Arendelle. But when Anna gets to the castle, Elsa freezes her heart, and only an act of true love can save Anna. Sure, Frozen is a kids' movie, there are adorable characters like the trolls, reminiscent of the 7 dwarfs, and a snowman called Olaf, but behind the cuteness is a complex story about the meaning of true love, and a pair of self-sufficient princesses, one who uses her powers to defend herself, and one who saves Kristoff from falling down the mountain. The question of what is true love resolves itself in an unexpected way, which reflects the increased sensitivity of Disney writers to the roles of women in today's society. That's a lot of ground for a kids' movie to cover, but Frozen deftly adds touches of humor and music to make it entertaining for both kids and adults alike. The music is outstanding and sets the mood for many scenes as well as propelling the story forward. The animation is amazing, which is the Disney standard. The animation is filled with beauty. The Aurora Borealis is a series of dreamy streaks in the sky. The Ice Castle is a palace of shimmering beauty. The acting is superb. Idina Menzel, previously only known as a Broadway star, rocketed to fame as the singer of the Academy Award-winning song, Let It Go. She has become a household name because of this movie, to everyone except John Travolta, and her fame is well-deserved. Her voice soars in Let It Go, and the song is the standout of a very good soundtrack. Menzel also handles a very tough role adroitly. She is the Ice Princess literally and figuratively. She is emotionally detached from her sister, because she thinks that will protect her. Kristen Bell deserves a lot of credit for her underappreciated role of Anna. She is carefree and loving, and the emotional center of this movie. Bell plays her perfectly, and she also has a superb voice. Jonathan Groff beautifully underplays Kristoff. Josh Gad is full of joy as Olaf, the snowman who ironically loves summer. The movie is a long one, but the pacing is handled so well that the movie never drags. Stunning animation makes the movie visually appealing, and a captivating story will leave everyone happy. Number 12. Disney's latest is a big-hearted charmer of a family film with terrific musical numbers. This movie is no guilty pleasure, but an entirely innocent one. Frozen is an animated fairy tale musical in the classic Disney manner, a new twist on Hans Christian Andersen's The Snow Queen. It's a slap-up Christmas treat, a wide-eyed charmer of a film with terrific musical numbers from Kristen Anderson Lopez and Robert Lopez, who worked on the Book of Mormon and Avenue Q. There are lovable characters and a robust, satisfying story with the big heart and a neat twist. Elsa, voiced by Idina Menzel, is the princess of an ancient kingdom, endowed with the magical power to create ice and snow. Having to conceal this dangerous talent causes her great loneliness. She is finally exiled on suspicion of witchcraft, but her devoted sister Anna, voiced by Kristen Bell, goes on an epic search to find her and perhaps to find love. The spectacle is great and the song lyrics are a joy. Are you holding back your fondness / due to his unnatural blondness? Elsa's strained appearance at her coronation scene put me pleasantly in mind of Kate Blanchett and Elizabeth, and her supernatural powers are the most impressive since Frozen in The Incredibles. Cheesy critical metaphors are hard to avoid, with such warmth within its icy landscape. This is a celluloid-baked Alaska. It is glorious family entertainment. Number 13. Like the rest of the preschool to elementary school female population, my princess is quite obsessed with the movie Frozen. I have to admit, I do love the music as well as the movie, so I don't quite mind the fact she plays the soundtrack or watches the movie daily. Now that she is into storytelling, she has the opportunity to enjoy the movie in print with Frozen books. We've recently had the opportunity to review these popular books and my daughter is in heaven. She loves sitting down and telling me a story based on the photos since she can't quite read yet. With this new Frozen library of books, she will be able to grow into an amazing reader with them. For starters, we chose the Frozen Read-Along storybook and CD, a great way for those learning to read. This version of the Frozen story features Anna's journey as she is in search of her sister, Elsa, whose icy powers have trapped the kingdom of Arendelle in eternal winter. Encountering blizzard-like conditions, mystical trolls, and a hilarious snowman named Olaf, Anna and Kristoff battle the elements in a race to save the kingdom. This is a great way for new readers to start picking up words by following along with the audio CD. Her favorite book, Frozen, A Tale of Two Sisters, is a 32-page step into reading level 2 reader, which brings the adventurous tale of Frozen to early readers ages 4-6. With large print and easy words, this book is great for those just starting to put together words. In the hardcover edition of Frozen, A Sister More Like Me, more seasoned readers can explore a wintry world of magic in Walt Disney Animation Studios' latest film. Frozen. This jacketed picture book features an original story about Anna and Elsa, the film's two sisters. Scattered through the book are illustrations by one of the artists who actually worked on the film. This edition would be perfect for collectors. For more advanced readers, Frozen, the junior novelization, retells in detail the touching story of Elsa and Anna and features 8 pages of full-color scenes from the movie. These books make amazing birthday gifts and are available at Amazon.com. Pair it with one of the amazing musical Magic Elsa and Anna dolls from Mattel, SRP, $29.99 each, and one little girl will be in heaven. If by chance you're planning a Frozen party, check out these amazing cupcakes I picked up from Stater Brothers. Just ask in the bakery for their Frozen options. Disclaimer: we received complimentary books in order to complete the book review. No other compensation was received.